Welcome to California in Focus. I'm David Mastio, California editor for the Center Square. Today we're talking about letting arrestees skip arraignment and go straight to social services. Kenneth Schrupp, who's a California reporter for the Center Square, is joining us today. Kenneth, tell me about this bill and what the vote was.
Yeah, this bill would allow individuals arrested by police to be delivered or referred to a public health or social service organization instead of going to custody and facing arraignment, which is when a magistrate says what you're being charged with. This was a unanimous vote in the state assembly to move this bill into the Senate, surprisingly without any Republican opposition. Of note is the two state Republican assembly leaders are the ones who co-authored this bill. Under this new bill, arresting officer would have discretion when they think that they don't want any further proceedings, that the officer can be like, all right, we're going to release you from custody and we'll just give this person to a organization that provides services, including but not limited to housing, medical care, treatment for alcohol or substance abuse disorders, psychological counseling, or employment, training, and education. Under existing law, someone typically is placed into custody, police saw them commit a crime and arrested them, or someone called the police on them. They go into jail and then get brought to a magistrate for arraignment. This bill would mean that you don't go to a magistrate for arraignment and thus charged with crimes if the officer goes, okay, maybe it's better if we just drop them off to services instead because they don't really seem like a problem.
Let me see if I've got this right. You call the police because somebody is robbing your store, and the police catch them. And then the police officer can just decide, you know what this guy needs is job training, not jail. I'm going to skip the judge and go straight to the job training. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It would really give broad discretion to the arresting officer. There's one formally filed opposition to the bill, which is from the Los Angeles County Professional Peace Officers Association. They focused on public risk to safety and how sometimes people do need help, and this is true, but that without arraignment, you don't give them the opportunity to get court-ordered diversionary programs that include treatment or training. Let me read what the Los Angeles Police Officers Association said. Without proper assessment of the individual's potential threat to society, there's a possibility that releasing them directly to a health or social service organization could put the community at risk. While providing access to health and social services is important, it should not come at the expense of proper legal proceedings. Bringing individuals before a magistrate ensures that they can access rehabilitation programs within the framework of the legal system, potentially leading to more effective outcomes and addressing underlying issues such as substance abuse or mental health disorders.
Tell me about the data used to back up this idea.
Well, Los Angeles and San Francisco have been piloting these so-called law enforcement assisted diversion programs, and this was just assessed in a report to the legislature. The data for the program is mixed because it's just very poorly tracked. Los Angeles program data was incomplete. But in San Francisco, program participants' case managers coordinated with prosecutors and public defenders so as to, quote, not compromise lead intervention plans, which means that even though the initial data reported that some people had a decrease in misdemeanors and felony citations, charges, it could be that coordination between the program and the offices led to a decrease in charges. Another caveat from the report was that it said that officers, perhaps rightfully, of course, could have selected individuals for the program based on their belief that the arrested individual would benefit from the program. So let's looking at this data here. It found that people who participated in the program in San Francisco who were arrested or suspected of recent drug or sex work offenses after 18 months found that lead program participants were 3.7 times more likely to be cited by police for infractions, which is the lowest level of crime. Equally as likely to be arrested for a misdemeanor, slightly less likely to be charged with a misdemeanor, and then less than half as likely to be arrested or charged for a felony as those who did not go through the program. Again, there could be selection bias among the individuals, could be that you have just people who are more likely to escape from lives of crime who officers selected, but it doesn't really seem like this program is as effective as one would hope if we're going to bring this statewide.
Does this mesh with the zero bail and no prosecution of minor crimes approach that some local DAs are taking in California?
To a certain degree, it does. I can actually see a case where there are a lot of these misdemeanors that are never going to be prosecuted anyway. There just aren't enough prosecutors to handle the backlog of shoplifting cases, even, theft of cars. We don't have the legal bandwidth for that. So maybe there's a thought here that letting officers have the discretion to be like, okay, you're not really a huge threat to public safety. I'm just going to drop you off at this program. It's better than the cost of keeping you in jail and prison. We're not going to even prosecute you for a crime anyway. So we'll just let this one slide. That could definitely be the case. California's jails have not been really significantly expanded in a very long time, which means that with the population triple what it was in the 70s, they tend to be fairly full. So it would reduce the population of individuals just waiting in jail to be charged.
What do we expect to happen in the Senate?
Well, given that it passed unanimously in the Assembly, I can expect that even if every Republican opposes this, that it's still going to pass because Democrats have a supermajority in both the Assembly and the Senate.
Has Newsom said anything about this?
Newsom has not weighed in on this, and it could be very likely that he could ultimately say no to this. He could say yes to this. He is trying to paint himself as harder on crime and might think that this is one step too far.
Kenneth, thanks for joining us today. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.
Do you care about classroom curriculum, transparency policies, and how your taxpayer dollars are invested in education, but you find it hard to cut through the partisan noise? Chalkboard News is bringing you straight news reporting on public K-12 education. We're talking news without spin. Chalkboard News publishes fact-based stories that make sense to parents, teachers, and readers who have skin in the game. Get this news delivered to your inbox for free by signing up at chalkboardnews.com. Subscribe today at chalkboardnews.com.